Alright, moving on to the Z. You're going to need the rest of your extrusion, the C pieces and the X top. You're going to need your Z rods. You're going to need 4 of the corner aluminum pieces. You're going to need 2 NEMA 17 motors with the lead screw on it, or 2 NEMA 17, your lead screw, Acme lead screw, and your couplers. I don't have couplers here because I'm not using couplers. I'm using these bad boys. I do have some laying around. You're going to need 12 of the sliding T-nuts. And the reason we're not using all hammer heads, it's because the parts that are actually tension, there's tension against the rods was one thing because they were laying flat, but these things are tension and playing, so we want them fixed completely. So we're gonna use these, and then 2 of the hammer heads, so we can finish actually mounting these onto the X, sorry, to the Y. All right. So again, your trusty M3 driver and M6 driver. You're gonna need 14 M6 by 12. Now we're moving on to the 12s. The reason I'm putting bigger ones because I want you to be able to move the thread and move them easier. And that's it. So I'll see you in a minute and I'll show you what we're gonna do. Ta-da! The Y appeared. Anyways, I'm gonna need you to grab your Y frame, right? We already have it built and everything. So what I want you to grab, these 2 printed parts, which are Z bottoms. I need you to grab 2 T-nuts, and I want you to grab, I already had put them out there, but I guess I did, look at that, 2 M6 by 12s, right? What you want to do first, I want you to set the extrusion just like that. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing fancy, complicated. I want you to grab 1 nut, 1 screw or bolt. Oh my goodness, I just realized I forgot to cut this part short. So, you will notice in these parts, I'm sorry about that, I'm going to have to update that on the files. These, it's going to be sort of loose when you tie them up to these because it's not going to have enough room to go in there. Sorry, I really am. I have to update those files. There goes the video ends. Well, ta-da! Our Y appeared. Anyways, so I needed to grab your Y frame, right? You already had that built up, and I needed to grab your bottom parts. Now you should say left and right. I mentioned actually in all files, so because when I printed them, I didn't realize I was downloading my own files, and I used the original files, which I already changed for you, so you can actually fit the nut. Mine I had to actually like sand down so I can put the nut, because this nut, you need this nut to actually be able to fit right there. But yours already do that. Anyways, so I needed to grab the bottom parts. I needed to grab 2 nuts. I need to grab 2 bolts of your M6 by 12. I need to grab your C rods, so your C frame parts. And I want to put the extrusion just like that, sitting right against, right? Now I want you to grab this part. I want you to grab a bolt to put it in the hole. Right, all through. I want to grab the nut and just get it started. Right, a couple of turns. And now you can grab it from the top if you want to, and you can put it down. So as not to be fighting, trying to hold the nut and the bolt and everything together. And I want you just to slide it right down, right? I want you to do the same to the other one. Once you slide that down all the way to the bottom, I want you to grab it. Make sure it's flush against the extrusion. and I want you to tighten it down like so, right? And I don't need to measure because I already know that if I went to grab the motor, pick it up, put it down, and slide it right under, it would. So all I had to do was lift it up, shove it in there, and now I know the extrusion is still sitting flush because this is at the same height. You're wondering how we're going to tie down this. That's how we're doing it. So that's why I asked you to do this first. So I want you to do the exact same thing to the other one. I'll show you what both look like here in a second. Alright, so I'm going to show you what it looks like now. As you can see, all three of the parts are flush. I went ahead and already tied this down. It's right there. All three of them flush on both of them, right? And you can feel with your finger, you can feel one surface as if it was all the same surface. Right? Now, very important. I want you to put them down, like so. Now the idler is the front of your machine. The motor, it's the back of your machine, right? So here I want you to put those holes where the rods go, where the Z rods are gonna go. I want you to put that towards the outside, like so, right? And once that's done, so if you don't have them right, swap. It's fairly simple. That's why I'm making it this way instead of tightening the Z down first and all that crazy stuff. Anyways, so, like so. Now I want you to grab your driver, which I don't have handy. I thought I did, but it is. Sorry. I want you to grab your driver. I want you to tie down a little bit the nut, just enough where it's snug, right? It's where we can still move it a little bit. I want to be able to move it just a little bit. And since these are hammer heads, they have a little serration on the top of it towards the frame. So it actually locks in the nut against the aluminum. So you want to make sure that it's beneath that so we can slide it in and out. You see how this happens? Now I want you to grab your calipers. At this point I would have stopped and tell you this is how it's going to look like, tied up. But no, we're going to grab your calipers and we're going to measure 100 millimeters. I already did that because it takes me a little while. I'm all what you want from me. Anyways, so I want you to grab it like so. From the in between where you put that corner piece and the aluminum, with the actual extrusion, I want you to put actually your calipers right there at the edge, in between those 2 points, and I want you to slide it back until you get to the very edge of the end of the extrusion, where it's connected to the other X part on the Y, right? And I want you to make sure that they're sitting right there, 100 millimeters. Now, I want you to make sure that these two parts of the extrusion are flush against here. If you can feel a gap, you need to move it until you can no longer feel a gap, right? Remember, if it's skewed, either you won't be able to put in the rod. It won't allow it to go in, or your machine is going to be skewed because your machine is trying to turn, right? So again, make sure it's right there flush. I want you to grab your driver and I want you to tighten it down. Now, the reason I actually asked instead of put a sliding T-nut like we did in the beginning to capture the motor and the Y idler, it's because I want to be able to remove the entire frame. If I had to pack this machine, I don't want to actually take it apart all down. All I have to do is remove these two screws, like loosen them up, and take the entire top of the machine and lay it down flat on top to pack it so as not to damage it. Now, for any other reason, you should never be taking these down. Once this is measured to 100 millimeters, making the mark only allows you to have a reference point, right? And I usually put them in the inside. I'm just putting it right here so you can see what I'm doing. But once this is set here at 100 and it's flush, just don't move it unless you're moving away. You're moving to another state and you have to pack your machine. That would be a good way to do it. That'll need a good excuse to do it. Then you just, again, loosen this up, remove it, remove the frame and just lay it down. You know what I'm saying? Okay, anyways. Now that I have these measured, I'm gonna go ahead and measure the other side and I'll show you what that looks like. Alrighty. So now, you can see 100 millimeters each. Again, from this side of the aluminum to the end where you cut it that is attached to the other side. That's 100 millimeters from right here to right here. And I mark both sides. And again, the other side, I usually just mark on the inside with a marker from the bottom. I'm gonna go ahead and do it right here too. Anyway, so now that's what it looked like. So let's move on. I want you to grab your last X piece, and I want you to grab 4 square nuts, or sliding T-nuts, whatever you want to call them, and 4 bolts. I've already done these to make it easy for you guys. I'm pretty sure it's less painful. So, I want you to grab and put them to your aluminum corners, like so. Now I want you to take the top. Remember, it's fixed right now, right? So I want you to take the top, and I want you to see how I'm sliding this in the direction, right? Because again, once one is sliding, you can slide it the other side, but the other one is sliding, then you screw it, right? So I want you to put it like so, right here, and I want you to slide it in. Now I want you to grab your driver, and I want you to make it snug. Remember, you still need to be able to move it though. Just enough where it's not rattling around, because we're gonna need it to be a little more steady here in a second. Now I'm going to grab the other part and do the exact same thing. Like, I need to loosen this one up one turn. There we go. Like so, right? So this is what the part needs to look like. Let me move this for a second. And you still have the sliding T-nuts. Remember, the hammerheads were just trying to lose some of the cost on it, but mainly it was because you can pack it. So it was, again, double point bonus, I guess. So now these ones again you need to be able to slide them, because we're gonna measure into the top. So I want you to align them again. Make sure they're on that. And now I want you to slide it on each side. And the good point of having it loose is that you can move the other one and start, right? And now, because of how we loosen the whole thing, we can slide it, right? Well, first things first. I want you to put the ones that are attached to the top, I want you to make those snug first. Just like so. I don't want you to tie them down as if they were staying there. I want you to be able to move them to make sure that they're flush on both sides of the frame. Now, once you make sure it's snug there, you can still move the top just a little harder to move now. I want you to align the top. Your top should align perfectly. Mine was a little big, so I like this overhang. I don't know why. I'm goofy like that, like yes. So now that it's tied up, or a little snugger, I guess, I'll go there to be able to. I want it as close as you can, but where you can still slide it. Make sure it's tight. Now the ones that I want you to tie now are the ones from the inside further quick. Make them snug. And make sure it's again still measured. If your parts are cut exactly the same, then you should have the exact same measurement, right? Alright, so now that this is flush, and square, now I want you to tie up the ones that are, actually tie them down. This is the last time we're going to tie those down, right? So I'm going to tie these ones down, the ones that are go to the top, the ones that are going from the bottom to the top. I'm going to tie those ones down, and those are permanently tied now. Those no longer remove, and make sure again it's square. There he goes. And now I'm gonna tighten it down. Tighten it down. Tighten it down. Now, those parts don't come out again, right? These will come up from here, but the squares, the actual corner pieces, you don't remove from the top anymore. That's gonna be a measurement point for you to know that this is always square too. So now I want you to lose the ones that were tied against these. Now you see I can pick it up. So I want to be able to remove this top so I can put my X, right? So first we're gonna put our motors. I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do that in 1 second. Alright, so now we're ready to mount our motors. I want you to grab your driver. Remember, as I told you, you can make a small mark right there on the point, but the only time we're going to use the bottom one to remove the top, this frame, is when you're moving it somewhere and you want it packed. So right now I want you to try to loosen these ones up, right? And that is going to let us remove that entire thing. However, I don't want you to remove it completely. I want you to keep it lined up, and I'm just going to grab one motor, as you're holding these, have them close by, haha, have them close by. I want you to line it up, I want you to grab the motor, and I want you to slide it in underneath the mount, right? And then I want you to take the other motor, same thing, slide it in underneath the mount. I'm going to go ahead and put my other motor in. You want the plugs or the wires going towards the outside of the frame, right? You want it to come this direction, that direction. You want the wires coming out this way. Alright, so I'm going to put the other one in. And now I'm going to line up the nuts again right there. Make sure that you can slide down back in. It's a little trickier, but you get used to it the first time. Anyways, so I'm going to slide it down there. Now my motors are in. Now make sure sitting flush, right? And this is what it's going to look like when you're done. Plugs towards the outside. Now I want you to grab those 8 1mm screws, and I want you to tie the motor down. So I'm going to go ahead and tie the motors down and show you what it looks like. Tie the motors down first before we actually re-tighten down the entire frame, right? Because we need to make sure that everything is moving exactly the way that we want it. So the first thing I want you to do is tighten the motors down. I'm going to do that, and I'll show you in a second what it looks like. My dog is going crazy on the cat. Alright, so I tightened down my motors, and now I want you again with your fingers, I want you to grab your driver, and I want you with your fingers, I want you to align again. Make sure that the actual extrusion, remember, it has to be flush. And once you have it flush, on the one side, I want you to tighten it down and back, right? Now it's flush, both sides, and I'm tightening it down. Alright. Now I want you to go to the other side, do the exact same thing. Make sure it's flush. And tighten it down. Right. Now, the ones that you just tied down, which are the ones that go that direction, those need to be tightened down nice and tight, because those we're gonna be removed again. Okay. You see? That's what it looks like. Anyway, so now grab your driver. We're gonna mount, for the next video, we're gonna mount the X onto the Z. So what I want you to do is grab your driver and go ahead and take a couple of turns right here. See how the driver is. I want you to loosen these bolts right here. That's where you can put that out, right? And we're gonna go ahead and mount our X. We'll be right back. Alright, now I want you to grab the X-carriage, which should be already built and looks just like that. And stuff is right there. You should have wires already coming out of the end stop, and if your motors are already wired, you will have wires already coming out of it. I want you to line it up underneath the nuts, just like so. And it's going to drop right in there, right? Now, if you were to tie one in at the time, you will bind the other one. So what I want you to grab is both of them at the same time. And now when you tie them down at the same time, you might need another set of hands here to help you out. You're going to put it about 1/3 down the way. I'm going to show you what only 1/3. Now, I want you to grab your Z rods, right? And you're going to insert the Z rods very carefully. I don't want you to knock any of the bearings out of your driver. So again, I bevel my rods, right? So I want them to go in nice and smooth without knocking any of the bearings down. And I put my finger on the bottom just in case there's any bearings. I will know when I put my finger that the bearings were knocked out. As you can see, here's nice, and I want you to put it all the way on the bottom. And I want you to snap it in, just like that, right? And now, as you can see, it's fixed. Now I want you to grab the other one and do the same. Remember, if you bevel them, it's a lot easier. Put your finger on the bottom to make sure that you're not knocking out any of the bearings. If you do, again, it's not a big deal. It will make just a little more noise. But that way you know why it's making more noise. And I want you to again match the hole, and I want you to pop it right in, right? And that's what it's going to look like. The reason we took our C and we left it like that is because we're actually going to end up tightening up the parts here in a second. There's the C tops. But we leave it like these so we can measure the parts. Then we're going to remove our Z, leaving the rods and the acmes down. We're going to remove again our X, but by that point this already will be measured, right? So I want you to grab the top. Once again, I want you to, once again I want you to slide it in, down, make sure it's like, and grab the other one, do the same, like that, right? Again, make sure you sit in the exact same way, that you're sitting straight. As you can see, one of them is not in, so it's pushing my rod out, so I need to pull it out again, make sure that again, they're sitting in right. There we go. There we go. Now it's measured and it's even now, right? This is what it's gonna look like. I'm gonna go ahead and tie this down for a second. We're gonna loosen it up again just the same way we loosened it earlier. We're gonna tighten it down, we're gonna loosen it up again right after we put the parts, mounted the parts here. So I'm gonna tie these down and I'll be right back with you. Alrighty then. So now that everything is tied down, and this is still a little loose, I want you to grab your Z-tops. The one that goes on the right side, if you're looking at the front of the machine, says I3 Mark II X, and the front one says F3PD. Actually, it should say F3DP, but I printed this one after I noticed I made a mistake. Check that out. Anyways, so this part, it's going to go right here, right? And your rod should be just long enough and to fit in that hole. So, what I want you to do now, I want you to grab the last 4 M12 bolts and your last 4 slide nuts. I want you to grab 2 bolts, and what I want you to do, one of them, it's gonna go this direction, and that's the first one I want you to put in. And I'll show you here in a second why that one goes in first. I'll do that to the other one too. Again, you want to put in the top one first, that one, and it's gonna go the same direction of the channels where it's supposed to go, actually go. Going to hold it again on the outside. Make sure you have the T-nut pointing in the right direction. I've done it. I pointed the T-nuts in the wrong direction before. Anyways, so now they're, oh, la 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 la. Anyways, so they're tight now, right? I want you to grab, remove that since it's still loose, and I want you to slide in your part. Yep, I need to loosen this one up a little bit. Now remember how it looked like. This one is going to go on this side, and the other one is going to go, of course, on the other side. I'm going to tie those on together and I'll show you what it looks like. And we're back. So this is what you want it to look like. You still want them just snug enough where you can still, you know, slide them. You still get a little motion on them, but not enough that they're going to actually be rattling as you're trying to put them in, right? So I want you to put this part just with them loose like they are, of course, back in. That side is done. I'm going to grab the other side and get it in. So both of them are right there and both of them are lined up. Now I want you to line up the plastic parts because they're still a little loose. But this should actually go in there, right? And now we're going to make sure that they're in the center of the rods, and the rods are actually in the holes. Remember, there's holes in the center, right beside the hole that this comes in. We're going to put bearings. You can put bearings in this part. That's why they're printed that way. Or you cannot if you don't have to. Again, some people say that this is better loose. Some people say it's better tight. I put bearings on mine, but again, that's a personal thing. Yeah, because I gotta think actually to say that I haven't seen either or. Anyways, I want you to push them in to where the rod spot is, and I want you to make sure, of course, that you know they're straight and everything. That you're not bending the plastic or tilting the entire rods forward, right? Just where they sit, and as far as they sit. Remember, there's channels on the back where the nuts were. I'm gonna put this forward so you see how it is. All right, now. What I want you to do, now that you know that it's actually there in the rods, your smooth rods are in the holes where they go, you'll hear a snap. You don't do it too hard. You don't want to break the part. Remember, always never do it too hard. You don't want to break the part. You guys already seen me do that today. So once that's done, you're not gonna be able to do it with these sort of drivers. However, if you had a hand one of these M8s, you can just tie in this one slowly, right? So I'm gonna find my key, and I want to tie the only one that we have in there. I'm gonna tie that down because I want them to be their permanent spot, right? And then I'm gonna remove it, but they're gonna be able to line in because they're already gonna be tied in. So I'll tie in this one really quick. I don't think I can reach the other one with these. I'm actually pushing on the rod and I don't like doing that. Give me 1 second. I'm going to find a more creative way to do this again. Putting this kind of keys will be easier because you can be in an angle. And you just got to make it snug enough where you know that once you have it in, they're going to be tight and dear. So now that they're snugged enough and they won't move, now I want you again to remove the piece upwards. Now remember, the rods are attached, so be careful not to snap anything too hard, right? We just easily remove one, pop out the other one, and now you can remove the part. See, they're snug again. That one was loose. I thought I got to that one, but this one's snugged, right? That one's in the place where I want it. So now I'm actually going to take my driver and tie the one that actually stayed in perfectly. Right, I'm gonna use that one. Don't over tie these. This will be fairly simple for it to push too far and break this part right here. I've done it before. Anyways, so now that that's done, I'm gonna have to put the part back on it and measure the other part again. So I'll show you once it's done what it looks like. Alright, so now this is what the part looks like. It's actually tightened up. I already tightened it down, as I say. And you should still be able to remove it again. You're just gonna poke it out slowly. Both sides of the pods. And now you can remove it, right? And as you can see, this is already fixed on both sides. So, now the tricky part. The tricky part is we're gonna put a nut right there in that one, right? And it's gonna have to go vertically. So it's gonna have to go like that one. And then the tricky part is putting them both together at the same time. That's a little tricky, but once it's done, then completely done. So, now all the measurements are done. All you gotta do is mount the last two sliding T-nuts on your last part. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. I'm gonna move this out of the way instead of just trying to go around it. I'm goofy, what can I say? So I want you to go ahead and put these through, grab your knot, put it in the spot, and I put at the bottom just enough where you won't let it rotate once it's a little tight, right? So that will probably make it a lot easier once you have to align them. The other one I can't do anything about it because, well, that's how that part comes from China. But as you see, you get turn, but it won't actually like fall to the horizontal position. So I'm gonna tie the other one and I'll show you what it looks like. All right, so now I have this parts mounted, and you can see, as I said, this one allowed to rotate because the aluminum and because the little plastic piece, it won't allow to rotate. However, this one's still just on the corner, so it's going to be a little more tricky. Our parts are forward. I want you to go ahead and set it down on top as close as you can right there, because we're going to have to wiggle it in and out. And for all of you with all the innuendos, please stop. Oh, I know. So, there we go. And I'm going to go on the other side and do the same, right? We're going to match it. And again, this is a little bit of a process, because if you pull the other side, well, you got to start from the other side again, or whatever side you're starting from. Make sure it's lined up on both, and set it in. You see, as I pull the other one to align, then I pull the other piece of plastic down. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on, there we go. And I'm going to be sure that they're both dropping in perfectly, and there it is. Make sure everything is flush and tied down, right? And make sure, again, these are going to be in the way, so just go ahead and push them in a little bit. Just make sure they're out of the way. Sometimes if you catch this edge, you'll notice you're fighting the thing for no reason, because you're not gonna win with it. So here again, once again, your driver won't fit. So you're gonna need your key. We need to make sure once again, our extrusion is flush in the back and the front. Grab your key, push down, make sure it's tied up and nice. And go ahead and tie up that one. Now we're going in sideways, so it's not gonna go all the way in, and I don't want you to strip, right? I want you to slowly push it in. I want you to drive it slowly. Don't crack it. If you break that part, again, if you hear crack or anything, let go. Just back down a quarter of a turn. Again, the other side is flush. And we're gonna go ahead and put that in. Now notice again, my parts are bent a little bit high because I haven't put this on the hole. However, I'm not worried about that right now. I just want to make sure that everything is tight. Again, if you hear crackling noises for any reason, you're going too far. And slowly. Take your time doing these parts. Again, they shouldn't be super fragile, but they are. So, I mean, you're tightening them with metal. So, now, line up your hole, push it in. Make sure it's nice and snug. And again, if you want to put a bearing, if your measurements are correct, you can put a bearing right here to capture these. However, once this capture with these, I don't see the point, honestly, to capture that. I've done it in one of my machines. This one I'm not going to do it again, just because of that. So I'm going to put it all the way in, push it in, make sure that it's tied up now. I'm going to push down, and I'm going to go ahead and tighten my frame, because right here, because we're done. See? Our X, our Y, and our Z. So next, we're going to mount our extruder. We're going to put the belt, we're going to keep it tight to make sure everything's still moving nice. And the video after that will be mounting our electronics. However, I still again want to make a different video, because I have a video how to build the extruder, which is what you need to be watching next, and then we'll come back again to mount it to our machine. I hope these videos are getting fun, or at least are teaching you something. And above all, you know, as always, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for your human masters. We'll see you in the next video.
I need you to help me with my finger.
Cool, right, guys? Anyways.